General Skywalker, come in.
We read you, Rex? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Standing by. We were worried. You were off the scopes there for a moment.
A moment? We've been gone more than a moment, Rex.
Warthog, protect the gunships. I will take out the fighter.
Copy that, Commander. Have fun down there.
Man down! Man down! General Kenobi, don't land! The zone is hot!
There's nowhere else to go! Move it, trooper! Come on, double time!
This point forward, we are entering uncharted territory.
Jedi, I have been waiting for you.
I am no Jedi.
Come on then, let's go! Go, go, go!
Hello and welcome to Clone Corner, a podcast about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, currently streaming on Disney+. I'm Travis Fishburn.
I'm Alex Brunelle.
And this week we'll be covering Season 7, Episode 1, The Bad Batch. So this is an interesting show for us to be covering because this is the first show that we are not covering in its first season.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, this is a show that is... I don't know how to describe it.
I mean, it's following the Family Guy technique of get canceled over and over again, but persist.
Yes, very much that.
So yeah, I finally got to sit down and watch the episode today. Enjoyed it a good bit, although as we get into it, you know, my own kind of mindset on the whole storytelling of that era that we've been given will come through a bit, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Alex, can you give us like a brief history on the Clone Wars and how you've watched it and discovered it or come to it throughout the years?
Well, like for me, it was I've always wanted to experience all of the Star Wars things, and growing up, I also always watched as they were available to me, like the original Droids and Ewoks cartoons and the Ewok live action movies. So I was no stranger to like, you know, subpar kid oriented Star Wars storytelling from the days of old. I mean, anyone who could sit through the Stuart Copeland theme song for Droids, like on a 13 episode basis, is like a very strong-willed person. Immediately when I saw the first movie, and it's all about rescuing Stinky the Hutt, and I just could not bring myself to care like at all. So I tuned out for a number of years, and then shortly, I don't know how autobiographical this podcast is or how much people may know, but we were roommates in Los Angeles for a year. Almost 10 years ago now, we moved out here together.
It was, 10 years ago this year.
Yeah. And I think in that time, I started watching Clone Wars here.
I recall that.
And I bailed out somewhere like halfway through the second season, or maybe even the beginning of the second season, because I just
near the end, because near the end is when Bosk shows up, and you were pretty upset Bosk was speaking basic.
Bosk, fire up Slave One. We're going to blast what's left of this ship to pieces.
I'll be ready when you arrive.
And I was again. I had that same sensation again when he came up when I finished watching the show last year. Yeah. I still think he should be just growling and being weird.
Yeah, I agree.
And the voice is like a weird voice they gave him.
Yeah, it's very strange. But yeah,
sorry, you were making a point.
Is one of the limitations of this series, say like that the Mandalorian doesn't have, is they felt very pressured to just have all the aliens speak basic. So that they didn't have to have subtitles or anything.
Sure. And like, I totally get it. Like, that makes sense. It's a kid's show. Kids, 6-year-old. Your kids watched the show growing up, right? I believe?
Actually, no. No, they have not watched any of it yet.
Oh, well, that'll be fun when that comes up, if it comes up.
Yeah, my oldest has only just recently gotten interested in the live action films.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, that's good.
yeah.
That's progress.
Yeah, he's very interested in Luke. Well,
That's
after we
great.
finished Return of the Jedi, he's like, "Are there any more movies with Luke in it?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh boy. But I mean, I can imagine. You can't show a TV show to 6-year-olds that has subtitles. So I get that. But just like Bosk's voice being as cartoony as it was, and other aspects being kind of as kiddie as they were. And then, like, my larger thoughts about, like, Clone Wars stuff. It's like, I get, like, the battle droids are cheap. They're the lowest bidder, cruddy robot that's just disposable. But they're idiots.
Is your transmitter working?
I don't know. I haven't used it yet. All right, I'll check on it.
Stupid battle droids.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's not some, like, programmer that works for the Republic that can reprogram, or for the Separatists that can reprogram their battle droids to, like, not be so damn dumb.
Apparently not. Yeah,
Yeah, like
they
these,
definitely
and
amped
these
up.
things. Yeah, and like these things that like the show just lives with, always kind of bothered me. But as I finally, we'd get into this release swing of new movies now, and I'd want more content as I watched the movie, and there was no new Star Wars. And then I always thought, oh, I could dig my teeth into Clone Wars if I can deal with it. And then once I got past season 3, and it started to become like the arcs rather than just individually contained stories, the storytelling really got better, and there was a lot of really interesting stuff that was going on, and some good emotional arcs, even if it was still playing with all this kind of stuff that I didn't love. There was an episode that made me even like Jar Jar.
Yeah, there are a few, I think.
Yeah, like I liked Jar Jar in the show, like post season 3. Early Jar Jar in the show made me cringe. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's funny. I think the show and the animated form really gave Jar Jar the platform that he was probably more intended for.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's if we don't ascribe to the theory that Jar Jar was a Sith Lord the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is the main flaw I find in that theory is it's too smart. I don't think that there would be that well laid of a plan. But yes, that's like my history with the Clone Wars. I finished watching the series not too long before Rise of Skywalker came out, and it still had its ups and downs, but overall I thought it was really strong. I was very impressed with some of the arcs and some of the appearances of older characters and guest voice cast that we'd hear from time to time.
Yeah.
Really liked all the Darth Maul stuff. Really liked all of that, which was really surprising considering how hard I've ragged on that character for like many years.
I was apprenticed to the most powerful being in the galaxy once. I was destined to become so much more. But I was robbed of that destiny by the Jedi, by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, another character from the Phantom Menace that really got to shine in this series.
Yeah, and it was in a couple late episodes of the Clone Wars that Liam Neeson actually reprised his role as Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
correct?
he did. Yeah, he did it in the Mortis arc in season 3, and then at the end with the Yoda episodes.
Right, that was a great arc. I really enjoyed the Yoda episodes at the end of the show, at the end of season 6. And it goes to show, like, he said no to George for coming back to episode 3, but said yes to the cartoon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, this series is also, like, heavily tied to George and his ideas, and this 7th season that they're releasing is, in a way, like the last fingerprint, like, of George Lucas on Star Wars, I feel.
And I've been thinking about that too, because correct me if I'm wrong, I hadn't seen these, but like these are a lot of the stories that are coming out are kind of finished versions of animatics and unfinished stories that we've seen parts of, or that parts of have been shown in the past. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been this specific arc that they're leading with, the Bad Batch, the Clones arc, is a series of animatic episodes that they had released a few years ago when they thought, well, these are never going to get released, so we might as well show them what we got with the voice actors and the sound effects, but not finished animation, so you still get the story. I didn't happen to watch this arc when that happened, so luckily it's all fresh to
either.
me.
Yeah, same.
There was also a Crystal Crisis on Utapau arc that they did that to as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not finishing that and releasing that in this season, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
So that's one that they didn't finish. But yeah, like all of these stories, all of these scripts, and for the most part, the voice acting and everything, like this was done like 8 years ago or so, and they've been just sitting with this stuff.
Yeah, and that's really interesting that, I mean, the voice acting in the episode was very strong. The episode is basically entirely carried by, I should have looked up.
Baker.
Thank you.
Yep.
He carries the whole thing in kind of a more varied way than I think we were used to throughout the show. Like, because there's some, like, mostly throughout the show, you get a lot of the same kind of clone. Then with the Bad Batch, we're getting this very interesting kind of tweaky spin on a lot of the voice acting he does, just because of the different physicality of these characters that are new to us.
Yeah.
I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, you can definitely, if you're just listening to the episode, you can tell who's talking just based on the way that he portrays them, which is really great. I've always appreciated that, something he's done throughout this series, but this episode in particular, and I think this whole arc is going to be on the shoulders of him.
Yeah, I can't see how it wouldn't be. It's interesting so far. The episode, I mean, for as much as I still think like the battle droids are very dumb, the action sequences featuring the battle droids were actually really good in the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of like just single long tracking shots that are just like really impressive. And they take advantage of the animation. Like they do stuff that it's like, it'd be really impossible to do this live action. So let's have fun with it.
Yeah, and I really liked how it was pushing that, because I mean the show has pushed that before, but this also, I mean I haven't like specifically compared, but it kind of felt like it was the best looking the show has been.
Oh yeah, I think they definitely cleaned it up as much as possible.
And it's probably in 4K now that I'm thinking about it, but
yeah, it might be. Though I don't have a way of watching it in 4K, so I wouldn't.
I don't either. That's okay. Yeah. What were some thoughts you had on the episode?
Yeah, I really liked it. Honestly, I think with the Clone Wars, as you mentioned, it focuses on these arcs. So we're getting 3 arcs to wrap up this series. And the arc I'm really looking forward to the most is at the end, there's the Siege on Mandalore arc with Darth Maul and Ahsoka, and it's going to tie into stuff that's already in the Mandalorian and or what they're referring to. So I'm just really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tying up some of the questions I have about that whole aspect of this universe as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's so watching this, that seems like some big epic missing piece storytelling.
No, I agree.
And so with this episode, I really appreciated it, but I'm also oh, okay, so this is going to be our one of the arcs that we use, which is to bring back this series. And it hopefully it feels consequential by the end.
Yeah.
So it's definitely fun. I think I'm just looking for a lot of meat. Whereas I feel like in those Netflix episodes that they released, they were very intentional about that, because they do a lot of these clone arcs, and the clone arc in the Netflix episodes was the Order 66 microchip art, which that answered questions about the Sypha Dyas character. And all the mysteries about that.
Yeah, and that was one of my favorite arcs just about the clones. Yeah, for sure. That was one of my favorite arcs, just about the clones. In a general way, the arcs and stories about just clone adventures without like Jedi involvement or other stuff could be really hit or miss for me. When they hit, I thought they were really good, and I really like how this episode brings back some of the stuff that I like the most, which is like Echo still being alive. I like that idea a lot because Echo is one of the few characters that we actually got to see at like many stages of his life.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely get arcs for all of these clones that you never knew from the movies.
Yeah. And, you know, the 99, Clone Force 99 reference to 99, our favorite janitor.
Even this bad bachelor 99 has more sense than you guys do, and he's a maintenance clone.
You don't give him enough credit.
Yeah.
Who died in service. Who was a great character. Like, I really liked the episodes that he was kind of the center of. I thought that was a really well-written character and a really interesting thing to do within that kind of environment. But no, I agree. It's like, it's a nice way to come back into the show, but as of yet feels kind of just like another clone adventure. And there's aspects of it that I like a lot, but there's also, okay, I see that this is not changed so much.
Yeah. Yeah, another interesting thing is bringing back the Admiral Trench character.
Yeah.
Who seems to not be able to die.
Right. I mean, like, that's Star Wars, though. Like, if something dies, you just throw some robot parts on it, and then it's like, it's fine. You don't have to explain it more than that.
Yeah, which in the original trilogy, you thought Vader was kind of special in that way, and then they introduced Grievous in the prequels, and you're like, oh, Grievous was like the precursor to Vader, and then they keep throwing all these ones, and you're like, oh, so this guy was that as well.
Right. So we have many instances of this kind of thing. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they comment on like how exactly Trench survived. But I guess that remains to be seen.
Yeah. Another cool thing about Trench is the first episode he was in, Cat and Mouse, is if you watch the series in the chronological order, it's what kicks everything off. Because it happens, prior to the movie. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, interesting that he's in this final season where chronologically he was there like at the very beginning of this. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. That hadn't occurred to me, that part.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, we had some nice little Jedi character work at the beginning of the episode, kind of sowing some seeds of doubt in Anakin about clone troopers in general, with Rex's kind of shiftiness and hiding his real intentions about the whole thing, which is, we understand from him as a character, but it's interesting to see, just more Anakin development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit there. It would have been neat to, have Anakin accompany the squad on the mission to add a little bit there. But I understand their reasoning behind just keeping this all clones.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll have our Jedi arcs too. We'll have our Jedi arc somewhere in the season, I would think, right? So are these 3 or 4 episode arcs? Do you know?
I think they're all 4 episode arcs. So we're getting 3 arcs total.
Got it. So we probably have like the clone arc, the Jedi arc, and then the Mandalorian arc.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that'd be good. But yeah, I mean, like the interest, you're right. I mean, the idea about this being like George's final thumbprint on Star Wars is a really interesting idea, just because of how hard Disney has moved away from the aesthetic that he established in the most recent stuff that he did.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of like the biggest, craziest thing for like this series to be revived is like, oh, this is like George's like last pet project, and from the way it looks different than Resistance and Rebels, and you just never thought like once Disney canceled this series that they would ever go back and do this. It was so
Yeah.
surreal to like watch that Disney Plus logo at the beginning of this episode.
It was bizarre, yeah. I mean, it did feel that felt very weird. But I mean, that feels very weird to me still, even as deep entrenched as I am in the whole thing now. I've told you, but I'll tell whoever's listening. I went to Disneyland recently and purchased my light, or built my lightsaber.
Yeah,
that's mine. And hung out in Galaxy's Edge for the vast majority of the day. So
that's
like,
awesome.
Very, very aware and very, dancing with the devil with this whole Star Wars fandom nowadays. But yeah, I think it's interesting that they're doing it. I think it, and I don't know what more I'm trying to say. Dave Filoni, I'm for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really love, Dave Filoni's involvement. And speaking of Galaxy's Edge and Clone Wars, one character I hope to see before the series is wrapped up is Hondo.
My men aren't going anywhere with you. Look at them. How powerful can they be? They are running away from Kenobi.
Filth. You will pay for your insolence.
Insolence! We are pirates. We don't even know what that means. Open fire!
Oh yeah, man.
And I know Hondo he's in Galaxy's Edge, right? He's in the Falcon Ride.
He's in Smuggler's Run, and that actually blew my mind because not only is he kind of, well, there's news recently that apparently there's a secret Wookiee mode with that ride.
Oh
that
yeah,
you
I've
can
heard about
unlock
that.
And have Chewbacca be your co-pilot. But generally, Hondo is your co-pilot. So there's like a photorealistic. It's not like Clone Wars style animation. It's like photorealistic style animation for Hondo, and I can't remember the voice actor's name, but it's the original
Jim
voice
Cummings,
actor.
I think.
Yes, it's Jim Cummings doing Hondo, but not only that, in the Q area there is a incredible animatronic of Hondo, like
I'd seen some video of that.
Yeah, full figure. The motion's incredible. It was very surreal to see, like, if I didn't know it was a robot, a flesh and blood Hondo, like, pulled out of the cartoon where I've only seen him so stylized. That was very cool. I liked that a lot. And I like Hondo as a character a lot, so.
Yeah, I think Hondo is my favorite, like, original character to come out of this series that they, like, keep bringing back and using. They used him in Rebels, and now they're using him in the parks. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree, because he's got a lot of the character qualities we like about Han Solo, but none of the allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do actually like that character a lot. I probably agree. He probably is my favorite character that it was introduced in the show. There was the early part of the show they were trying to push Cad Bane on us, and it's not like Cad Bane is bad. It's just that Hondo is more interesting.
Yeah. Cad Bane is very one-dimensional, whereas you see Cad Bane, you know what you're gonna get. Hondo, when you see him, I'm like, oh, I'm really looking forward to him interacting with any number of characters. Every time, like when they brought him in Rebels, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so fun to see him interact with them now.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the second season of Rebels. Work picked up, and then I kind of fell off watching it. But I will resume that. But when Hondo came up, and then Lando was in those same episodes, and it was just like, man, this is some good Star Wars.
Yeah,
that was fun. And and Rebels, I feel like does a bit better of a job overall as a show from what I've seen so far. But I've been trying to like I said, in continuing to watch, or like I said about like the old cartoons, I've been trying to keep that kind of mentality as I watch these things, and not take it overall too seriously, lest I be disappointed ultimately.
Yeah, no, I would agree with Rebels. Rebels is my favorite of the animated shows thus far. I think just like overall, I love what they do with the tone, with the consistency of the plot and the characters. Whereas Clone Wars, the cool thing about the arcs is you get to go off and do all these branches of different stories, but at the same time, you're kind of limited by that as well.
Oh, totally.
Whereas-
I mean, yeah, it's really hard to build a dramatic arc into a show that you know the beginning and the ending of before you even start watching the show.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, Rebels doesn't have that exact same problem. I mean, there's similar inherent problems, but because we're dealing with a set of characters that doesn't really cross paths with our heroes so much, it's more flexibility there and more, more to get your teeth into, I guess.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I love the way that Rebels ended. I mean, you'll see when you get there. But
Yeah, I'll get there
I was
sometime.
just very satisfied with like the entire series as a whole.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to that. I like shows that know how to end.
Oh, yeah. It was very cool to see Dave Filoni actually get to wrap up a series.
That's cool.
At Star Wars Celebration 2017 is when they announced the fourth season was going to be the last, and everyone booed. And he's like, I know, but listen, I know what it's like when you don't get the chance to actually finish the series you're working on. So I wanted to take this opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, and thankfully he did. Thankfully they got to finish it. I mean, especially with Disney being so unceremonious about certain things in certain ways. Like, what was that, Star Tours Detours?
The service here is slow.
We haven't even ordered.
I know, that's what I mean. It would be good to order already.
I know, that's what I was saying.
Oh, I thought you were disagreeing. Yeah, it would be good to order already.
Zito!
That exists. Like,
They've got like
it's a
40
show
complete episodes or something.
Yeah, it's just material that they're just like, nah, we don't like what this is, so we're just going to bury it. And I guess I read some Mandalorian story ideas were kind of taken from scripts for Star Wars Underworld, which was the live-action show that George and Rick McCallum were working on before the sale of Lucasfilm.
That makes sense.
Which, I mean, that's very interesting to me. And I could see how, what they were working on may have been interesting. But, I mean, this would be a much longer podcast, but I think Rick McCallum's the real villain in a lot of modern Star Wars stuff.
Just the ultimate yes man.
The ultimate yes man. I mean, we probably talked about that in the Rise of Skywalker podcast. It's like one of my harping points.
Well, speaking of Underworld, did you get to see any of the test footage?
No. Was there test footage for Underworld?
Yeah, there was released test footage that they made for Underworld.
Oh, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Did someone videotape it off a screen at Celebration so I can look it up online or something?
No, you just search.
Oh.
It's going to be the first thing that pops up. There's a lot of it, and it's like clean. I don't know.
Interesting.
This was intentional. Like whatever this.
Oh yeah, here's like a 10-minute reel of test footage.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Well, yeah, I will check this out.
Yeah, it's definitely not bootlegged, and there's been no attempt at taking it down. So I do not know.
That is weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. Cool. I'll check this out. That's some interesting weirdness that I didn't know existed. Oh, it's so... I'm just clicking through it right now. It's so video-y.
It is. I was very turned off by it. There are a lot of people who are excited by it, and I'm like, I honestly am not like this. It looked very Sci-Fi Channel-y to me.
Yeah, this. I mean, it looks like 1980s Doctor Who to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. Oh man, just looking at this footage, I'm just glad we didn't get a show that looks like this.
Yeah, me too. I'm very glad that we got what we got with The Mandalorian and not that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna watch this more carefully. Oh, there's some behind the scenes footage here too. Interesting.
Yeah, they've got that at the very end.
But man, I mean, I wasn't on the Mandalorian podcast, but I could go on and on about how great that show is visually. Yeah, I guess I am glad that Star Wars Underworld did not happen, because this looks sad.
Yeah.
You know what it looks like? It looks like that Death Star board game from the 90s. You remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, I've got that VHS upstairs in this house right now.
Yeah, I think it kind of looks like that.
Yeah. No, I could see that.
It's very video-y, like, man, George, just, the hell, dude. All right. Anyway.
But yeah, back to the Bad Batch of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of more thoughts I have on the Bad Batch.
What do you think of the
like,
characters of the 4 new characters?
I like them in I like them in like that very classic, like, you know, they're the most clear-cut action movie stereotypes
Yeah,
you can possibly imagine.
Pulled directly from like the 1980s is what this whole crew felt like.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially the Sylvester Stallone looking one.
Yeah, we have Rambo, we have the strongman, we have the sniper, and the nerd.
Yeah,
right. That's what we got. Which is like great. That's the 4 components of like any character-based like squad of specialists. It's still like that's still like the Mission Impossible movies, right? Like you have like the tech guy, you have the brute force, you have the brains, and who does a lot of the stuff, and then you have like the reserve with the gun. Like it's still that's the format.
Yeah. The only thing they were missing was
fun.
like one of them needed to be like the wacky like Michelangelo party guy with the sense of humor.
Oh sure, yeah. I guess we didn't really get that. But yeah, I liked you know, it had that classic like clone inner conflict, but then it's like we're clones, we're in this together for the clones, and then they unite. But yeah, I like those characters a good bit. I'll be interested to see them do more. I like the idea of, you know, mutant clones, but like this is again one of those ideas that like implies more interesting things than what I've been presented as the product of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like the idea that these are mutant clones and that, you know, these are very good, you know, like positive mutations. But like, where's the actual Bad Batch? Where's like,
where's the worst
clone?
batch?
Yeah, where's like the clone who has like no internal body temperature regulation and is just like gonna set anything on fire by touching it? You know, like where are these genetic abnormalities? Those that when you say mutant clones, that's where my brain goes, and I want something more extreme than just like a real good team of super soldiers. But you know, that's some Alex Brunelle problems and not really a problem with the show. I like these characters plenty.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's the new mutants of the clones is what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the episode. It was 22 minutes of some fun or 24 minutes actually.
Yeah, it was a little longer.
A little long.
Yeah, I watched a thing today on it. The Dave Filoni said, "Well, if you've watched the animatic, you probably noticed we added some scenes and we cut some fat. They so while it is the same story, they did add some things and cut some things down. And with the Disney Plus, like no commercial break, you don't have to worry about the time limitations. I like that about The Mandalorian. I know a lot of people complain about, oh, the episodes are too short. I'm like, I'm happy with them just telling a complete story and whatever time frame they need to tell it. So
yeah, I was so down for I mean, sure, I would have liked every episode to go on longer, but if that's the length that the story says the episode is, then that's fine.
Yeah,
that's better. The only reason I wanted it to go on longer is just because I wanted to keep looking at it. Like I felt like I was gypped out of story because the episodes were like 35 minutes long sometimes. I just wanted to keep seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So they get into the cyber center and Rex finds out that Echo's alive and they're going to
now we're off to a new planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. On a non-Clone Warsy side note, and back to the topic of Galaxy's Edge, strongly recommend Rise of the Resistance.
That's what I keep hearing.
The thing blew my brain. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I could not believe the scale of what I was being shown in that attraction. I was very, very impressed.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'm trying to avoid like all spoilers for Galaxy's Edge type stuff. So I keep hearing, that same sentiment.
I would say don't go online and look at ride footage of that.
Oh, no.
when the whole attraction opened, I did watch a couple of YouTube videos of Savi's workshop process out of sheer curiosity. But past that, everything was new to me, and it was really wonderful. Yeah, spent a lot of money.
That's what happens.
Yeah, there's you can buy a Kowakian monkey lizard. It's great.
Oh, is it like a puppet?
Yeah, it's a puppet, and it has magnets in its butt, and it comes with a metal plate. So you can put the metal plate under your shirt, under your shoulder, and then perch it up on your shoulder, and it just stays there. And there's a little hand control, and one trigger is for left and right movement for the head, and the other trigger is for the mouth. And if you turn the power on, it'll cackle when you make the mouth move.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty great.
No, I definitely want one of those.
You can get them in desert colors or like the vibrant blue and white iteration.
I also love the approach they're taking, that I hear that they're taking with all the merchandise inside the park, is that it feels like it's in-world instead of just a bunch of like random stuff that you like slap a logo on.
Yes, a lot of it very much does feel that way. There were things that was pretty clearly that were just like, oh. Like one that worked on me was the Hollow Chest set, like the figures from the Hollow Chest and the Millennium Falcon. They were like full scale and really, really great looking. But the thing was, they didn't come as a complete package of all 8 figures. It came in 2 4-packs, and each 4-pack was like $130.
Oh my!
So it was like, no.
And it's just the figures. You don't have like the Dejeric table itself.
No, it's just the figures. Yeah. That being said, I'm very happy with like the purchases I did make. Like I have Han Solo's Lucky Dice hanging from my rearview mirror in my car now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to next week's Clone Wars, which I guess will be this coming Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's Friday. Great.
Okay. So next week we're going to be reviewing episode 2, A Distant Echo, which that makes me think of Son of the Distant Drums, where the Wilhelm scream was originated.
Oh, nice. Very good connection.
Yeah.
I forgot that that's the movie that the Wilhelm scream came from. So
yeah. I don't know if that's in reference to that, but it does make me think of that. But
yeah, it's great. And I mean, like, that's the title itself is like very indicative of like, you know, the pulpier aspects of Clone Wars. Like A Distant Echo is like simultaneously like a concept, but a very literal thing that's going on. There is a guy named Echo, and he is far away.
yeah. Oh, that reminds me of a quote from the episode that I liked when they're hacking into it, and Tech is like, "Oh, this isn't a program; it's a live signal." And it made me think of the line, "Lando's not a system; he's a man."
Lando's not a system; he's a man.
I always love that line.
Yeah.
Lando's not a system. Yeah.
But anyway, we'll be meeting the Distant Echo next week, and the episode premieres this Friday. And until then, you can find this show on Twitter as @WhoWatchesPod, on Facebook and Instagram. We also post all of these episodes up on YouTube, and you can find us on any podcatcher of your choice. And please leave us a review, as those are greatly appreciated. You can find me on Twitter as @Travis Fishburn. And Alex, where can people find more of your work?
I'm on Twitter @Alex Brunelle. I never post. I'm on Instagram @Alex Brunelle. I sometimes post. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So until next week,
thank you for having me as a guest.
Yeah, and thank you for being on. We look forward to continuing the end of this series with you.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. And until next week, begun the end of the Clone Wars has.
Lando's not a system; he's a man.